Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope everybody enjoyed the weekend celebrating their loved ones. I know I did. Sat in the sun, got too much sun. It was good. Today, well, actually last week, Katie and I talked about all the different things to make, and Katie is much more of a sweet tooth than I am, so you're welcome to everybody who's excited, because Katie is the one who really pushed us into doing some more decadent, fun things. Today we're going to do an orange zucchini loaf, and we actually already made one this morning, and it is so bright in flavor, and Zucchini is probably one of our more popular vegetables here. We zoodle them a lot, we grate them a lot. Actually, this morning when I was prepping the loaf, it reminded me of the double chocolate zucchini muffins that we made.
Yeah, those are a winner every time.
But it was covered. You kind of go, we only gave the students a quarter cup of cocoa, yet it's everywhere. It was probably the messiest thing we've made at Little Kitchen.
I'm going to say it was second. Something with tomato sauce. I don't remember what it was, but there did look like there was a massacre one day.
There was a murder scene.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't know. I love at the end of the day, though, when their little jackets are completely splattered and covered in food. I feel like they're in there. They're doing it.
Yeah, so. They're super cute. So we're going to start with the zucchini loaf. Before we begin, we want to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. We want a nice hot oven. And I'll show you. At Little Kitchen, because of time constraints, we don't want our students sitting waiting for an hour to be baking or to be waiting for their baked goods to come out. That's a long time. I actually found these gorgeous little mini loaf tins, which are a really good size because we've actually done lasagnas in here, we've done different loaves, we've made different kinds of pies. We've done a ton of things, and they're so beautiful. And what this size does is it cuts down the baking time by at least half. So we bought these. So I'm going to show you the recipe to make these today, this size, but feel free to use, I don't expect most families to have these at home, but a big loaf tin. This recipe will do one full loaf.
I feel like probably could you even do these in a muffin tin if you didn't have a loaf tin?
Yeah, you could. I just don't want to make another muffin. I
No.
love the idea of a sliced loaf, but yeah.
Agreed,
absolutely.
but if you want to make this at home and you don't have a loaf tin,
yeah.
I think you could probably even do it in an 8x8
you could.
square Pyrex.
This is like a cake, right?
Yeah.
Who are we kidding?
So delicious, so springy.
I'm a big fan of parchment paper. Ours is biodegradable, so I don't ever feel guilty using it. We get ours really nice size that fits our baking tray. I cut them in half, and these are perfect just to fold in just like that. And it helps us lift the loaf right out when it's slightly cool. It's perfect. If you don't have that, very easy trick is a little bit of oil, and we just brush it with our pasting brush. And again, Kitty can attest to this. This can take 45 minutes.
They love
Some of
that.
our artists just love to sit and paint. We try to limit it to 1 or 2 squeezes because there is oil in the cake. We don't want to add to the density of the cake, but just a little bit like this, nicely greased. And then maybe I'll show you. I'll tap a little bit of flour in.
And while you're doing that, we've had quite a few people just sign on to join us here.
Yes.
If you can just remind us what we're making again today.
We are making a beautiful orange zucchini loaf. Nice and bright for spring. So we're just greasing in flouring the tin. This is an easy way to do it if you don't have parchment paper at home.
Yeah.
Just like that. And then I just tap out the remainder, just like that. Perfect. It'll help the sugars in the loaf and the moisture in the loaf not stick to the pan.
Yeah,
so
that's the worst when it sticks. Don't want that.
I know, especially after you've worked so hard. Okay, so much like many baking ingredients, I like to do wet ingredients and then dry ingredients and add them together. So we'll start with the wet ingredients, and zucchini is obviously one of our favorite things, and it's moist and it's going to act as a wet ingredient. And this recipe calls for 1 cup. This calls for 1 cup of grated zucchini, and I'm using zucchini about this size right now, and it's really a third to a half of one of these. It's not a lot. If you double the recipe, you'll use more, but it's not a lot of zucchini. And we use our famous grater, and we just teach the children very carefully just to go down the slide, capturing all of the beautiful zucchini. And of course, the Montessori mind in me loves seeing the zucchini disappear in its whole form and reappear in grated form.
Yeah, these are the best graters. I love that it's got that little canister to catch what you're doing in there.
These are the best graters.
Yeah, really good.
I'm really happy with them. A lot of traditional graters have you standing them up, which just gives a little bit more topple room, but these ones, you know, our 3-year-olds all the way through 18-year-olds love them. Okay, so I already grated a lot this morning, so I've got it in here. It collects it right there. But before I add it in, we're gonna put the rest of our wet ingredients. This recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of oil, and I like to use coconut oil. We don't have to. If you have vegetable oil, you can use that. You could use canola oil. I don't know if I would do olive oil. I think it might be too strong.
I mean, if you had a mild olive oil,
Yeah,
I think you could do
you
it, but
could.
it would definitely.
It's not what I love. Yeah.
Are you gonna
for
give me
sure.
a heart attack and measure
No.
with that cup?
I'm not. I was just showing. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, it is a 1/4 cup. I want to make sure. Okay, so when we're using, these are the 1 cup liquid
Yeah.
measuring cup measures. And so what we would do with our students is we have them looking at eye level. Because if you're looking from up top, you're gonna pour too much every single time. So eye level, the 1/4 is right there. I'm gonna turn it around so I can see it. And we just invite our students to squeeze the olive oil in, or the coconut oil in. I'm gonna open it up.
And this is another opportunity that the students have to be doing math in effect, right? Like they're learning early fractions, or for the very young ones,
Yeah.
you know, learning to recognize their numbers and how to see it and where to point to it.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's really nice to see amounts, right? Yields and things
Yes.
growing, and just the measure how much liquid is going to form, and how 1/4 cup plus another 1/4 cup
Yeah.
is half. It does really help them see fractions and basic math concepts. Okay, so my coconut oil is in here. And another tool I thought I'd bring out, this is a great recipe because we're using so many tools today, is our juicer. The kids love using
Yeah.
our juicer. We're gonna put a 1/4 cup of orange juice in as our liquid base. But before we do it, I don't know about you, but I don't like to grate or to zest an orange when I've cut it in half. It's so much harder to hold.
Agreed.
So our recipe calls for the zest of 1 whole orange, but it's gonna be divided. We're gonna use half of it, or actually more than half, probably about 3/4 of it in the cake itself.
Right.
And then we're gonna use some on the, in the icing that we're gonna drizzle over top. Katie will be thrilled to know that there's icing on this
Ooh,
cake.
yes, please.
So the microplane, we don't give this to our youngest students that often. You know, if we find they're able to stand without falling off their stool, they're able to really listen well, they can control their muscles and their body movements well, they can certainly tackle this. But I find they're so sharp.
Yeah.
And it's not fun, especially most of the time we're zesting and we're juicing. It's citrus, and it's gonna be really, it's gonna sting. So the microplane comes out when we're really strong listening. If not, the other side of our cheese grater.
Yeah, like
is
the fine
perfect.
holes on that cheese
Yeah,
grater would work
it's
well
perfect.
too, for sure.
So the fun part, again, this is part of refinement of the sense, right? The sight, the sense of sight. The sense of sight? Yeah, that's right. Watching the bright orange disappear and seeing the dull orange underneath. And that's really 1 or 2 or 3 grates every
Nice.
single time.
So you get to see the color changing, and also because you're releasing all of those essential oils out of the
smells.
orange, the
Yeah.
sort of explosion of bright orange smell there
Yeah,
is
it's spectacular.
so awesome. Yeah.
It's spectacular. So I've already grated quite a bit, so I zested quite a bit,
Nice.
so I'm not gonna bore everybody by zesting all afternoon. But that's a beautiful, that you can see how moist that is and how damp that is.
Really nice.
And that is, just like Katie said, it's all the delicious oils. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that in there. That's just for safe for
And
later.
for everyone watching, if you guys have questions, feel free to send them in. We'll answer them as we go along here.
Yeah, and
or-
I don't know if Sash is there, but Sash will be excited to know that we're using raisins today. Just like Katie. Okay. So a quick slice of the orange. And this recipe, like I said, calls for a 1/4 cup of orange juice, but we're also gonna need orange juice for adding to our icing. And more than likely, if you're doing this with kids, we know this best, they will drink most of this.
Maybe even before they get to juicing it. Yeah.
Well, they've probably, who are we kidding? They've probably already taken a bite.
Yes.
This actually reminds me, I had a math teacher who used to just eat, like
The
take a
whole
bite.
orange.
I think we used to go to math classes at lunch, extra math classes at lunch, just to see what she was going to eat
Wow,
for
how
lunch.
funny.
Bizarre. Okay, so with the students, we identify the center and we match the center to the center here, you know, and students who are 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, they go through different sensitive periods, right? And one of their sensitive periods is matching in order, and they love to match and make sure
that little
fits.
circle is lined up. Yeah.
And then of course the fun part that elicits so many giggles is who stole the center of the orange. It goes into our compost. Yeah, and this will create much more yield. This is a really juicy orange, much more yield than a quarter cup plus, a tablespoon or two. But we do anticipate a lot of drinking this orange juice, which is fine. Okay. This. So we finished with that. We'll measure up again. We're going to come down eye level and just very carefully measure 1/4 cup of orange juice. Look at that. How beautiful
That was a nice
it is.
juicy orange. Yeah, that's great.
I always say there's only 2 people that make beautiful colors, my hairdresser and Mother Nature. Okay, so that goes in to our liquid as well. Don't need my cutting board anymore. There we are. Okay, and then we need some vanilla extract.
I love that vanilla and orange combo together. It's very creamsicle-y.
It's, there's something about having vanilla extract in your baking. It just adds a little bit more level of decadence, right? So,
and when we're in class with the students, of course, we always take time to allow them to appreciate all the sensos. So that vanilla bottle will go around the room, and everyone will get a chance to smell it and enjoy it that way, and then see how it tastes different once we've baked it into whatever we're making.
Vanilla, like cocoa, doesn't taste the way it smells.
Doesn't taste great, no, but once you mix it in, it's amazing.
Okay, so we've got the few liquid ingredients in here. We're going to add sugar to this. A lot of our students wonder why we put sugar in our liquid ingredients, and that's because the sugar dissolves, right? And so that's not considered a dry ingredient. It's considered a wet ingredient. So it's 1/2 cup of sugar. I was saying earlier, I would love to add brown sugar to this. I love the caramelized, rich taste of this, but we're gonna stick to the white sugar today. So I've mixed it up. I'm gonna mix it all together, let the sugar start dissolving in that orange juice.
Oh, and I can smell the orange zest from here. What a beautiful scent.
This is so good. Okay, so now we got that. We have one more liquid ingredient before we add our zucchini, and I love this lesson at Little Kitchen, how to crack an egg. Our students, when we first opened, I imagined so many eggs breaking on the floor and us spending most of our time cleaning them up and composting. But it's rare. It's so rare that this happens.
Actually, I mean, the only egg that I've seen hit the floor in its entirety was dropped by an instructor, not a student. I think we tried to peg it on the students, but it was one of us.
Yeah,
so
it's true. They take such care.
They do.
And they're so proud because they really want. This is actually the first time, I should say, a student actually brought tears to my eyes was the egg. When I was sitting in the office and I heard a child go, "Mommy never has to crack an egg again because I can do it." Like, are you kidding? Like, it was magical. Okay, so the egg, when we go to collect them at the fridge, we usually have the children collect them in a bowl. It just takes away a little bit of temptation of dropping them, and they carry them back to their workstation like this. And into the bowl, we ask them to hold very carefully and keep the bowl steady, and we identify where we think the middle of the egg is, and then 1 or 2 swift taps, and we want to cut a hole right in the middle. And this is where we look and we try and put our thumbs right into that hole, and we don't squish the egg, we pull the egg apart, just like that. And Katie, I'll do this for you, pluk. Katie's sound.
The egg.
Yeah, it's the egg that went right into the bowl. And again, we talk about this a lot. The more tools you use, the more fun they have. I actually really like to whisk the egg before I add it. So I would just very quickly, we have these beautiful mini whisks. If you don't, a little fork will work. But just quickly break it up and add that in. Just like that. Perfect. Okay, we put this over here. Okay, so now we've got that. Now we'll add our zucchini. And like I said, about half, 1/3 to half of a zucchini will give you about a cup. And I've grated this, we'll just measure it out. And this is, you don't want to go overboard. Well, you can, you just have to adjust your baking time after, because it's so moist, right? This is where it's
Yeah.
adding all the moistures. And you know, it's funny, we were talking as mouthfuls of the testing cake we did earlier. Katie said, you know, we could do different colored squash, which would be great, right? The yellow, like you said, Katie, would probably blend with the orange,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't know it was there. I'm not a fan of hiding things
No.
with kids, I think, but you know, some parents have children that really struggle with something green, right? So it's a great way to introduce it if they're not cooking it themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
There we go. So there's our zucchini, nicely mixed. And I'll add one more thing and then we'll get on to our dry ingredients.
All right.
I'm giggling because you know what we're going to add. Okay, so I love to put raisins in things. They add a nice punch of sugar or sweetness. Katie just went from the screen. Like this. They add a nice punch of sweetness, and they add color, and they add texture, and they make Katie cringe. But I wanted to show you sometimes, I mean, this recipe calls for a couple of tablespoons. Not very many, so I'm just gonna throw a couple of tablespoons in. But what we do with some of our older students is we actually do a little science experiment right here. And this obviously involves tasting them. We try a raisin just like this, then we put boiling water or hot water in here, and we reconstitute them a bit. We bring a little bit more moisture back into them, make them a little bit softer, and we love to try them before and after. There's a massive difference in texture, and it's just so much fun. They get plumper. Poor Katie. Okay.
And just, yeah, being
Like, no.
can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That's what
fair.
I'm sticking to
so
right now.
We've got our wet ingredients now set aside, and we'll put our dry ingredients together. So this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of flour.
And for everyone just joining us, we're making a very beautiful zucchini and orange loaf
Yeah.
here. It's looking good.
Yeah, this is a great punch to spring. And actually, what I find I do when I make banana bread or I make different kinds of loaves like this at home, if, you know, they're the best day of 2 days later max, but then if you still have a few pieces, I don't think you will have any of this, and we've done this here, slice it up and turn it into banana bread, or turn it into French toast. It's a great addition to breakfast. No question.
And I think these quick breads or these loaves are such a great sort of introduction to baking.
Yeah.
They're
Very,
quite
very
they're quite simple.
Yeah.
There's some good different techniques that you get to use,
Yeah.
and they don't take a long time. So you kind of get that that satisfaction.
Yeah,
quickly.
It's nice. And can I just say how much I love our measuring cups?
They are
I mean,
great.
We talk about learning so much in terms of the base of math and science and even reading in a kitchen, right? The more you're in here, the more you realize there's so much more going on than that essential life skill. There's one whole or 1 cup, and there's 1/2. Well, if you can't tell me that that's the best way to see that 2 halves make 1 whole, I mean, I'm curious to know if there's a better way.
No,
I don't
it's
know.
great.
And unless you've figured out a way to do it with an Oreo, I don't know if there's another way. Okay, so now with the flour, we need to add a few elements to make the cake rise and puff up to support the egg. And one of those things will be baking powder and baking soda. Baking powder we talked about last week. Baking powder needs heat from the oven to puff up and rise, and baking soda needs the acid. And the acid is coming in the orange juice.
Just want to say we've got a very international audience today. Antonio from Italy is saying hello and enjoying our Antonio El Martino.
How do you say hello in Italian? Buenos.
Buongiorno.
Is it buongiorno?
I have no idea. Let us know, Antonio.
Sounds good. It sounds good. Baking soda. We need a little bit of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is something that my kids always found weird. Why do you put salt into something sweet? And the salt I always describe as the salt reminds our taste buds that there's something sweet there. You know, if
It
you
really
pull this-
heightens the flavors,
it really
for sure.
does. It brings up the salt, then all of a sudden what you're eating that's sweet, it's like, whoa, it's right here. And it was always very confusing, like, why would you do that? And it actually works. And a nice experiment to do one of each, right?
Yes.
See what it's like with salt and without, and see how many more
Yeah,
flavors
you
can pick up.
really miss it. It really tastes flat when you don't have at least a little pinch of salt
Yeah.
in there, for sure.
I agree. Okay, so now I used my whisk earlier, so I'm just going to quickly just make sure that's nicely combined. It's not a really big deal. Okay, we've got our dry ingredients now. We're going to add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients. The raisins in there.
There they
Katie.
go.
There we are. just like that. And with a cake like this, a loaf cake, I'm not as concerned about yeah, you don't want to over mix it. You just want to keep it wet, and you want to make sure all of the flour has completely incorporated, because the more you work your flour, the tougher it is going to get. I think of when you're making pizza dough, which we made on the weekend, or bread dough, the more you work it, the tougher it's going to get. So there it is, and this is great when you have little kids because it's almost spill proof. You know, it's way easier to put this together. Okay, so we've got our loaf tins right here, and we're going to fill them. You know what we could do? Okay, yeah, my sister did. Oh, you can do it too. Thank you. We could use an ice cream scoop. This is a really good tool to have in the kitchen working with kids. It's a perfect portion size for our muffins.
Right, yeah, those are just so useful in the kitchen.
So useful. So I was going to say we can portion it out, but really if you want it very even, the perfect way to do it is scoop. Of course, I'm going to get the zucchini going just like that. And I don't know about you, but like as a parent, you know, when I first started baking and thinking of baking for our kids, I used to think, oh, how can I sneak all these ingredients in? How can I hide these things in to make the kids eat them? And then, you know, as I start to get to know my children and really respect the humans that they are, I don't want to trick them.
Well, I don't really think you're doing them a service by tricking them into it. If you can have them participate in the making of this with you, yeah, maybe they're a little hesitant, but when they participate, they're going to be so much more likely to give it a try. And, you know, particularly when it's in a really delicious baked good like this, that, I don't think you have to hide it.
The anticipation of the smell, right? They're already eating it with their senses before it starts. Okay, so we've got them. They're about half full right now. I'm just going to tap it down a bit. These are going to go in the oven. And again, it's really going to depend on how much moisture was in your zucchini, how much moisture is in the air, but it's probably around 30 minutes. Just stick a toothpick in it, pull it out. If there's nothing on the toothpick, maybe some dry crumbs, then you're good to go. So that's in the oven. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out.
And so nice, and the smell in your kitchen when that is baking will just get everybody excited for snack time.
And you know, if you don't have an orange, you could totally use a lemon. There's no question. I was actually saying to Katie earlier, I might actually add some cinnamon or some ginger to this. Would be delicious. She loved it just. And
if you didn't have raisins, you could just skip that part entirely.
You could even add chopped nuts too. Is that okay? Chopped nuts?
Medium.
Okay.
Craisins would be nice as well. Dried raisins.
Craisins would be good. Okay, so I'll show you just how simple this is. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
It's
using
ridiculous.
That stuff.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So we've got that right there, and of course we don't want to stop here, right? You know, as our students this is baking, we would be cleaning everything up. We would be maybe making a smoothie or looking at our plants on the food wall. But we also can do one more thing here, and we can go back to that orange juice that we had. I'm going to use a measuring cup. It's going to be way easier. And we're going to make a beautiful drizzle to go on top.
So nice.
And the drizzle is really, the recipe is going to show you how to make it very liquidy. But if you want it thicker, like a spread, just reduce the amount of orange juice or amp up some of the powdered sugar. But I like it drizzled. Just a hint of it is just perfect because it's quite sweet on its own. So it's a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. Of course, I grew up calling it icing sugar.
You too, yeah.
I called it icing sugar all my life. Okay, so there's a powdered sugar in there, 1/4 cup. I'm making such a mess. I'm not used to having all these things all over the place. A tablespoon of the orange juice, so we can see we'll have just enough of the orange juice. And of course, there's a lovely slurper too for our
someone will
students.
enjoy that.
If it had lasted that long. It's more than likely would have had to go and get another, oh, I didn't put the orange zest in the cake, did I? Did I?
Let's just say you did.
Maybe I did.
Put a little extra in your drizzle and it'll all be good.
So I'm going to put the orange zest in the drizzle. Yeah, a little bit more. Nuts. Okay, this is a problem with live, right? Okay, so just mix it up just like this.
And I think when you're making those little glazes, always start with a little bit less juice. You know, you can always add a bit more.
Yeah.
But when you put too much in at the beginning,
you should see how bright. Can you see?
Yeah, I can. No, it's amazing the color
so,
that comes off. That is gorgeous.
If this doesn't just finish this zucchini loaf off.
Gorgeous.
Just like that.
And the other thing, while this is in the oven, what we would be doing with our students after they've done their dishes and cleaned their station, we would all go and set the table together, which
I'm really looking forward to
me
that.
too. I miss that, and it's actually another area where there's a lot of skill involved. You know, we expect the table to be set in an organized way, and everybody has to.
There's a lot of thought.
Exactly.
We have a picture of what we want the table to look like, the setting to look like, and it's a placemat, a plate, and the silverware. And the children always take the plate first, right? And we have to go back and say,
Yes.
well, what's on the bottom?
Yeah.
And it's actually one of our more popular comments from parents saying, my children like to set the table now. They always offer to set the table. I think it just reminds them that they're part of their family, right? They're contributing to their environment. And you know, if you have a student or a child who's too young for our classes, that's a great introduction.
Great place
right?
to start, and it's sort of entrusting them with something. It gives them a little responsibility, and they feel really proud of it for sure.
They feel really proud. I'm gonna slice it. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So when we open, hopefully we're opening next week. I'm pretty confident we're going to, with just 50% of our students, only 5, we'll remove half of the chairs. But I'm so excited to sit together again and just chat. It'll be so lovely. So here we are. So there's a beautiful little slice.
That looks
and again,
great.
let me put 2 on. If there was any left over, for sure, I would
Just slide that
slide
over
it.
to
Oh,
where
yeah.
the
I'll
pan
show you.
is there. Nice.
I would, for sure, cover that in batter and make a French toast out of that. Would be great.
Delicious. Yeah, I mean, if you had that, gosh, with a few little orange slices on the side there, what a great snack or treat for breakfast that would be.
Yeah, it's yummy.
Really
It's good.
nice.
Okay, so there you go. Thanks for stopping on Monday. Hopefully, we'll see some of our students back next week. And tomorrow we have a fun dish to make too. So
Yeah, and keep an eye on our website and social media. As soon as we have new information about opening coming, it'll be there, and we're definitely looking forward to seeing everybody soon.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.